Welcome to YouTube Pro Skater Stats. We all played the Tony Hawk video games when we were young, but have you ever wondered what a professional skateboarder's stat points would be in real life? In this video breakdown, we will be taking a closer look into the video parts and tricks that define careers, and see if we can assign stat points to 10 categories that cover a broad spectrum of skateboarding. In this week's video breakdown, we will be taking a closer look at the career of professional skateboarder Ryan Sheckler. Born and raised in Orange County, California, Ryan picked up a skateboard at a very early age, landing his first sponsor at knees before he was even a teenager. Ryan picked up Almost Skateboards shortly after and had a video part in the premiere video for Almost Skateboards. Round 3. Ryan started to ride for Volcom and later had footage in Chicago, followed by Oakley's Our Life. These early years were also filled with X Games gold medals, appearances in the Tony Hawk Pro Skater video games, as well as appearances in Hollywood movies such as Grind and TV shows such as Life of Ryan. Ryan would go on to ride for Plan B skateboards, having a part in the promo video Super Future, as well as win some Do Tours during this time. Ryan would go on to have another Plan B part in True, footage in Red Bull's You Good, and finishing off this list with the recent 2023 Lifer solo part. Ryan also won countless other contests and almost backside flipped El Toro. Let's take a closer look at the stats and tricks of Ryan Sheckler. To get started, we will first be looking at the rail stat point. Rail will be a blanket term to cover multiple types of obstacles, including flat bars, handrails, shootout rails, and various others. Ryan Sheckler skates quite the variety of rail spots, from handrails to ditch spots, and even flat bar spots. The trick selection is somewhat limited, with a majority of the tricks being basics, but often performed on large rails. There is a good display of fakie tricks on rails with lots of variety. There is not much in terms of technical skating, with fakie flipboard slide being an exception and very underrated. Ryan Sheckler gets a 6 out of 10 for the rail stat. Next, we will be looking at the ledge stat point. Ledge will cover a multitude of obstacles, including flat ledges, shootout ledges, hubbas, as well as various others. Much like rail spots, Ryan Sheckler skates a good variety of ledge spots in various video parts. While the spots are always interesting, the actual difficulty of the tricks are often somewhat basic, with mostly regular stance tricks without a lot of flip in or flip out. There are some technical tricks in the mix, with a backtail 270 flip on a curved ledge, but overall, this was about as technical as it got. Ryan Sheckler gets a 5 out of 10 for the ledge stat. The next stat point we will be looking at is manuals. Like a lot of other gap skaters, although most likely very capable of performing manual tricks, Ryan Sheckler only has a handful across all video parts. The fakie manual tricks in True were great, and the long manual line in Almost Round 3 was likely just an interesting way to start a line for the kickflip, which was the actual trick. Ryan Sheckler gets a 3 out of 10 for the manual stat. Now we will be taking a look at the stat point representing flip tricks. Flip tricks will cover flat ground, as well as gap skating. When people think about Ryan Sheckler's skateboarding and tricks, usually gap skating would be one of the more notable features people would discuss. Ryan Sheckler is exceptionally good at gap skating, with a large variety of flip tricks and spots. This is also the discipline that showcases Ryan's ability to skate in multiple stances the best, with examples of regular, fakie, and switch all shown very well. 360 flip down the Hollywood High 16, the Buster bail clips, and virtually the biggest kickflip of all time. It's hard to argue the fact that Ryan Sheckler is one of the best gap skaters to live. Less talked about, but Ryan Sheckler might have the best half-cab kickflip in skateboarding as well. Ryan Sheckler gets a 9 out of 10 for the flip trick stat. The next stat point we will be taking a closer look at is balance. Examples of balance would be holding long grinds or long manual tricks. Most of the rail and ledge tricks performed usually don't require a great show of balance for the spots Ryan Sheckler skates, although there are some notable examples of longboard slide tricks in various parts showcasing his balance, as well as a great 50 around the curved rail, and probably the best example would be the triple set frontside blunt slide. Ryan Sheckler gets a 5 out of 10 for the balance stat. This next stat point we will examine is transition. Transition can be anything from DIY spots, mini ramps, bowls, or even vert if the skater uses a trick in their part. When it comes to street skaters, Ryan Sheckler is one of the best at also being able to skate transition, from DIY spots to skate park transition. Ryan even skated the mega ramp in a video part, just to do something basic over that, as a street skater is a feat in itself. There is a good mix of tech, flyout, and skate park transition, but all showcase a diverse set of skills and further lend to the trend we will be seeing as we look into newer generations of skaters who have a mixture of everything in their arsenal. Ryan Sheckler gets a 6 out of 10 for transition. This stat point represents the speed at which the skater tends to skate at, although this is possibly the hardest to truly measure as angles, spots, and tricks all play a major part in the way someone skates. There are not a lot of lines in Ryan Sheckler parts, but when they are shown, Ryan skates fast, always. Many of the spots Ryan skates also require an insane amount of speed, with lots of the spots shown in various parts requiring the use of a bungee or to be towed in just to clear a gap, such as the backside flip over the street gap or the frontside flip up the Euro and Lifer. The tail drop kick flip, although stationary when starting, gives you an amount of speed that the majority of skaters simply could not handle while rolling away, lending to the fact Ryan can and does skate very fast. Ryan Sheckler gets a 7 out of 10 for speed. Now we will look at the stat point for pop. Examples are notable tricks over tables, tall ledges, or rails that require you pop high without the ability to gap out. Ryan Sheckler demonstrates a great amount of pop overall, but the majority of the tricks that show this often involve a bump or kicker. However, there is still some degree of pop and control needed to utilize those spots to make the trick happen. The full cab over the handrail from True is a great example of pop, as well as the later head high backside tail slide, but again, with the use of a bump. The long kick flip over the bench is probably the best example of true pop without the use of a bump. Ryan Sheckler gets a 5 out of 10 for the pop stat. The next stat point is switch. Switch will represent all other stances a skater can ride their board, including fakie and nollie. Ryan Sheckler skates most stances very well, with regular by far being the most common and comfortable to film tricks for parts. Ryan has a great bag of fakie tricks from gaps to rails as well, with half cabs and full cab variations being common among the gap and rail tricks showcased. Ryan has a very strong fakie cab bag of tricks from cab back Smith to full cab flip down some gaps. When it comes to switch skating, the bag of tricks does get substantially smaller with virtually no rail tricks, sticking to gaps. However, the switch big heels and switch big spins are impressive. Ryan has virtually no nollie tricks in video parts, or at least nothing notable, which is somewhat surprising to see. With the strong showing of fakie tricks, Ryan Sheckler gets a 6 out of 10 for the switch stat. The final stat we will be looking at is creative. Creative is meant to represent the approach skaters take, the trick selection they utilize, and the spots skaters film tricks on. When it comes to spot selection alone, Ryan Sheckler is in contention for the best of all time. Traveling the world with premier brands like Red Bull, having access to some of the most unique and interesting spots is fully established in various video parts. Ryan is also one of the best, if not the best, tail dropper in skateboarding, showing off some pretty insane spots. Most of the actual tricks performed are very much on the basic side with no real innovation on trick selection, but the way spots are approached is very different than the norm. The use of DIY ramps is also interesting and leads to some gnarly footage. Ryan Sheckler gets a 4/10 for the creative stat for spot selection alone. Overall, Ryan Sheckler gets a combined 56 out of a total 100 stats, making him the current #1 skater overall, barely beating Mike Moe by one single stat. With Ryan leaving Etnies, there is no telling if his recent solo part was a final goodbye to professional skateboarding, or if this is just the start of a new chapter closely approaching us. This is also our first true contest/street skater, so it's interesting to see how the stats align with that, and will likely trend high if we do more skaters of this realm. TV star, contest legend, running a foundation, Ryan has had a large impact on countless generations of skateboarding, and love him or hate him, there is no denying the level of skating put out over various video parts has been nothing short of incredible. Only time will tell where they will end up as we continue to deep dive skaters across different generations and eras. All views and opinions are meant solely for entertainment and are not meant to truly represent the skaters featured in the videos. Skateboarding is way too complex to represent in any written way. If you watch a video part and get stoked to skate, that's all that matters. Leave a comment below for what professional skateboarder you would like to see next. See you next week.